everybody. Welcome back to Cocktails and Rocktails with me, your most notorious groupie, Alice Rouse, author of this little guy right here. Where you can get these other books, go down in that description. Fiddle about, because you won't get a tap, tap, tap from me. And you guys can see we're in a bit of a fantasy land today, because we're going to have a subject about when you have to leave Fantasyland today. And as always, I'm going to start being so thankful for everybody here, for this family that we've created, for the community, for everybody watching, everybody just really even contributing in the, whether you're talking, whether you're watching the commercials, whether you're a member, whether you're sharing, you guys help me build this, what we've got going on here. So thank you so much. And we wouldn't have anything going on if it wasn't for Jen over at Jen TV. She really pushed me into doing the YouTube channel. So yeah, thank you, Jen. And thank you to the amazing family here. You guys are awesome. And speaking of the family, today's subject, you guys, it's, kind of talking about the road family a little bit, what it's like when you have to go home. Because, there's two different realities you're living, and you've got to step from one into the other. So we're going to be talking about that today. We're also going to be having a little something. Today we're going to have the Bourbon Mule, this little cup by Copper Can. These guys usually, just about everything I've tried from them has been really, really delicious. I do believe they are local. I could be wrong. Really good, but this one's with the Bourbon Mule. So everybody, grab your mules, kick up your feet, and let's have a little cocktails or rocktails. Cheers, big ears. All right. I already drank this. This is really, really good. I love it. I had one. If you have a spaghetti factory in your town, I know it's old school, but Danny and I went there the other day, and they actually had a really killer Bourbon Mule that was so effing good. So, all right. But we're going to talk about what it's like when you're leaving the road, because there's definitely a crash when you go home. And I've got my little notes here, but there's definitely, because you're going. Okay, sorry, technical difficulties, because you can see we're doing this TikTok style today, because like I said, it's a bit of a fantasy land, and we go, and plus I get vertigo, kind of runs in the family, my mother got it, so it's just not a great day, so fucking dizzy. I don't know if anybody else gets this, but fuck, man, it's like, when you get up too fast and you've got that dizzy feeling, but it just doesn't go away that easy, you've got to take motion sickness. But yeah, so that's all you can do, little Dramamine. That's all I do anyway, so couldn't really keep my bearings with me today, so just bear with me. And okay, so let's talk about it when you have to leave the road, because groupies and rock stars do it all the time. And it is very different for them both, I mean, they both kind of experience the same crash and the same melancholy, I guess how to put it. I think those of us who hang out backstage or are part of the road family, we kind of get it, because like I said, you've got this whole different world, and I always talk about how they're so parallel that they never cross paths. And these rockers, the rockers mostly have to live these dual lives if they have someone at home, so when it's very delicate. It's like breaking the glass, it takes 2 weeks to even begin to shake off the road when a rocker goes home. Like, he's got to adjust, because when you're on the road, everything is so scheduled. You've got your lobby times, you've got your sound check, you've got your interviews, you've got your show times, you got your travel times, you got your check-in times, you got this time. Everything is compartmentalized into a little box. That's why you see my book being very repetitive. Different city, same thing, hotel, bar, this, that. That's rock and roll. So rockers are always, always, always got something to do. They know what they're doing. They have their schedule. So when you get home, you're just kind of waking up whatever time you want. So it is very, and it's the same for the group, because you're living their schedule. You're living the road schedule with these guys. So you're very, very disciplined on your daily what time you're waking up, what time you're doing this, what time you got to be at the gig, at the plane, on the bus, so on, so on. For the groupie, leaving is bittersweet. Ladies, normally it's just like, woohoo, yeah, see you next time. You're walking out the door, having a good time. You've got that afterglow. The next band comes in town. They see that afterglow, so on, right? Well, but every once in a while, you look at someone who walks into the room and you both just stop and stare, and the whole room feels the fireworks, right? And that happens. So you're leaving the last day. They may be in town for a few days, and you're leaving that last day after those fireworks have been nonstop, and you find like you have this really great connection with this person, and you've been hanging out and just having so much fun together, and the last morning you give them one big kiss goodbye. Ladies, always make sure it is a great kiss. Gentlemen too, and everybody in between. Because it may be your last kiss. It may be the last one for a couple years. It may be the last one for a couple days, couple weeks. You don't know. So always make sure that kiss is fucking fantastic, right? But, and this is kind of on my own personal experience. You give them that great kiss. You walk out the hotel room door. They leave the door open for just a little bit. Wave bye, blah, blah, blah. Turn around, they shut the door, you start crying. You don't know why. It's just a natural instinct. It's just, it feels like you're being torn apart. And they keep texting you, and 2 days later, they're like, I have walked all over Seattle trying to get you out of my mind, and I cannot get you out of my mind. So when you have that kind of road connection, or you've already had that before, and you're, the rocker's out on the road, bringing her out on the road with him, so on, because you need someone there in the chaos. I always talk about how us groupies are the calm in the storm, because in the middle of all that chaos, you need some calmness. And that's what groupies do. That's what these road relationships, the family does for each other. We are each other's calmness among the chaos. So when you've got someone like that, and you have this amazing chemistry, and you have this amazing just connection that you've enjoyed every second, whether it's dinner, sleeping, mundane conversation, talking to him while you're going to the bathroom, just walking around downtown, holding hands, talking, sitting, just whatever you're doing, visiting sites. You've done all this stuff and you've bonded during these 4 or 5 days that you're together. So when leaving each other is bittersweet like that, it's very, very complicated. And especially if you go out on the road with them and you visit them a couple of times here and there. For a groupie, she gets to go home. And she's alone. She has to get used to, sleeping alone in her bed, and kind of the silence of not being on the road, because there's always some noise going on when you're on the road. So you have to deal with this, the isolation of the silence, and the melancholy of leaving this person that you had, and he's going home, and you won't see him for at least a year, because they've got to do a new album. They're going to have to they've got to wind down. They've got a life to live, and it's not necessarily, because a lot of people are like, well, all groupies are whores because they sleep with married men. Most of the guys I dated were not married yet, or they were divorced. So I always made sure that there was, no complications, because that's too many complications for me. But so when it does happen, you're not going to see this guy for a while. He knows he's not going to see you. You've got to break this little connection that you've made in this little bubble that has just been everything to you both. That you've been every waking moment with each other, because when you're on the road and then you go home to, like I said, the groupie to her silence, but at least with the groupie, she's always got another band in town to distract her. So, it's a totally different come down for the groupie and the rocker. Like I said, the groupie, she has to live kind of in her isolation, coming down on her own, which I think is a lot easier, to be honest. So when the rock star comes home, he's got to come home to a whole different life. If there's a woman and family at home, then, and this is whether he's with the groupie or not. This is, the groupie thing, it's really totally irrelevant. It's just, it's so two different ways to come down for the groupie and the rock star, so I kind of like to give both versions. But with the rock star, he's got to come home to his wife's to him and his wife's home, his girlfriend's home, to their kids, to the schedule, to the soccer, to the grocery store, to this very, very, very normal life, that to the comforts of home, because there is the comfort in home. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. It's just two very different worlds. So when he comes home, it's going to take him at least 2 weeks to figure out what he's going to do with himself, to shake it off the road. If he can shake the woman off the road as well, because that's another thing. You know, the wife is having this man come home. She's just getting used to him being gone. She's used to sleeping in the bed. She's used to her schedule with her family, her kids, everything flowing normal, right? So he's kind of invading her space as well. So there's always going to be this kind of natural tension during the wind down from the road. You know, you can't just, and some wives are just like, all right, the first day he's home, he wakes up, all right, what time are you taking the kids to school? You can't just do that. It's like they have got to kind of, there's a shaking off. There's a transition to becoming the guy you are at home rather than the guy you are on the road. You know, so you got at least a 2-week transition for that. With a groupie, you know, depending on the connection, like it could be 2 days, it could be 2 hours. Lord knows it has been. I love it when one band leaves and the next morning there's someone else. Woo! You don't have time to stop and have that melancholy rule your life. As to where when the rock star gets home, he can be all up in his head. And he shouldn't be, you know, he needs to leave certain things on the road. But again, it's hard to let go sometimes, just like it is for the groupie when you have that connection. And again, that adds to that tension at home. You know, so so I'm looking at my note. Let's see. And it's really hard, like I said. You always have one foot on the road, you always have one at home. And when you do go home, there's no more road. But like I said, for the groupie, there's always going to be another band in town. And it's such a different world going home to, you know, the regular life, the kids, the grocery stores, the repairman, looking for the new house, whatever you're doing in your normal life, because you've gone from like I said, from a very structured, scheduled world of private planes, hotel suites, adoration, being the rock star, the lights, the camera, the action, the facade, the fucking family out there. It's a whole different world. So you're going home to a beautiful big house and a beautiful wife and beautiful kids. But who are you when you get there? You know, it's very much a mental kind of, rockers can go in up and down very, very crazy on, not bipolar-ish, but just on a mental roller coaster because, like I said, you're used to having all this stuff done for you. And as Jasmine LeBon said, somebody's got to make them load the dishwasher. So then you have to go back to not being catered to 24/7. You know, there's always someone there to take care of stuff. Yes, your wife is there to take care of stuff, but you are a team. It's a 50-50 thing when you come home. And I think sometimes that, again, that's very, very mentally, am I good enough for this? You know, I just got done kissing another woman yesterday. There's so many things going through that rocker's mind, you know, as to where the groupie, she goes home and it's not this Almost Famous bullshit where if you ever get lonely, just go to the record store. Bullshit. No, you just play his music, you dance around, you play with your battery-operated boyfriend, you check Polestar, see what the next band you want to hang out with is in town. Get over one rocker by getting underneath another. The old adage, right? But like I said, it's hard when there's this really killer connection and, you know, if you still are if the rocker still wants to keep in touch with the woman because he just can't shake her, it's really hard. He can't just call her. He can't just, even if he's alone, he's got, even if he's single and lives alone, he's got another whole ball game because all of a sudden, here you go from 100 people in your tribe, cruising the world, laughing, making memories, working together, all this stuff. Always somebody there to talk to, hello, big empty house, you know? So but you can always fly, if you're single rocker, you can always fly that connection you had on the road out. So it kind of keeps that going, but kind of eases it. back to the reality, because when you do fly out to the rocker's home after the road, it is, even if he's single, it is a very much normal existence, which really can make or break the relationship between the rocker and the groupie, because some relationships are just best caught up in the chaos, right? They may not translate well at home, and that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to, in groupiedom, rock and roll, we don't have black and white traditional, there's a gray area, there's purple areas, there's green areas. It's a whole plethora of different things that you've got to consider. So, and like I said, one of the hardest things to shake is the feelings from the road. Oh God, it's so much trouble. And the wife knows, like I said, it's kind of an unspoken intuition. I had one that did have a woman at home. They were not married. They did have kids. He had the worst time calling me. Well, I'm going to take the kids camping, bond with them for a couple days. So what does he do? Whips out his cell phone on that camping trip. Hey, Allison, stop. And this is not my style. This was someone that was so unexpected, and just, it wasn't something that I ever planned for. He was not the person I was ever planning to be with. It was, someone walks into a room, you look across the room, and there's fucking fireworks in your belly, and I just said, oh shit, in my head, So it's hard, because you have this, there's always a constant longing, whether it be for the woman, for the road, whether it be for the memories, the friendships, the travel, the transient lifestyle, the adoration, the music. So pretty soon, next thing you know, here, the wives get their rockers for such a short period of time, because then they go make a new album. They get restless. They want to do some more traveling, so they do a little family travel, because rockers and groupies by nature are very, very much a gypsy soul. Very, very much. I know it sounds cheesy and stupid, but that's one of the hardest things, to stay put, because you're used to traveling 48, 24 hours, 72 hours at a time, especially back in the day. Now it's a little more relaxed when you're touring, but once that gypsy travel bug has bit you, it's there. It's not going anywhere. So trying to anchor yourself down into this family home life is a challenge among itself. And not that rockers don't want to do it, not that the road's more important. It's just very, very hard, because you're not a rock star to your kids, but you're a rock star to a million people out on the road. You know what I mean? So you've got this whole mental struggle. And like I said, for the groupie, it's a little bit different. Yeah, you have the melancholy. Yeah, you have the come down, the jet lag, lost panties, whatever. You've got to kind of come down. But like I said, you can go check out, Polestar, and see who's coming to your town, and be like, all right, cool, you have something more to look forward to. And the rocker has his family to look forward to. But really, when you have a gypsy soul, you're looking more forward to making that album. You're looking forward to being on the road again, to being on that stage, to being in that structured world. And then, quite honestly, if you definitely have feelings for someone else, you're single, you're separated, you're just divorced, as in John's situation, what a lot of people don't know, he and Lisa were already broken up. I know she said he was going to marry me in her fake little English accent, because I watched something with Lisa Pritchard, John Entwistle's girlfriend, that he was broken up with when he passed away, when I was with him. At least that's what he told me. She was already moved out of the house into one of the cottages, apparently, allegedly. But you have that whole situation. I forgot what I was saying. Sorry. It's the vertigo, man. I can't think straight. But you want to keep seeing this person, but you can't. And you arrange little nights out with the boys. Like, one would go and stay at a friend's house, and we'd Skype all night long. And that's kind of how it was with John. Like, he would make excuses to come to LA. So you plan these little side trips. You plan these little outings. Hi, Beluga, baby love. Beluga's here, everybody. He's down there. He's coming in. He opens the door. Can't stand the closed doors. So you start to plan these little side trips to kind of talk to not just your groupie from the road, but the other roadies, the other, people you met on the road. It's something that's so hard to pack away that gypsy soul to stay grounded while you're at home. Even though, the groupie keeps you grounded on the road, grounding at home is a total different ballgame. Like I said, when I say 2 weeks, I'm not joking. I know rockers that just never come off the road, and it's really harder when you're single. And, you're coming off the road alone and you fly your road wife out and you have to come off the road. It's like kind of detoxing together. You just need to shut shit out. I understand why Elvis Presley had that bedroom, because his bedroom is the perfect bedroom for the road. The whole world is shut out. You're in your own little world. You can decompress. You come down. You're like, okay, now I'm home. But for how long? Because the road is always beckoning, my friends. Always. Never ever fails. It's something we just can't get over. And like I said, it's not a very Almost Famous thing where, why doesn't he love me? Because that movie, we'll get into that movie in another episode, because get on with it. That's a childhood fantasy of what it's like to be a groupie. It doesn't even get into really like the full kind of, but like I said, that's for a different episode. Sorry, I had to pause. I had a call coming in. But yeah, I mean, coming off the road, and when you're getting amped to go up on the road, you've got, and a lot of people don't know this, a lot of bands, they get together, they have a warehouse where they get all their equipment, they got all their stage, they're practicing with the lights, the road crew, tearing down, taking up the stage, sound check, everything. It's like a month worth of sound check. If they start the tour in your town, they're going to be there for a few days. So when you're going out on the road, you've got another build up to that. So you've got to, once you just get comfortable going home and getting into that routine, now you've got to take yourself out of the guy you are at home to be the rock star for the world, So like I said, it's a constant kind of roller coaster of emotions. And it's really not easy. It's not easy for the rocker who's in between the road and home. It's not easy for the woman at home to let him back in to her carefully crafted schedule and world, and, to have him around again. I mean, ask any rocker children. They'll be like, our mom pretty much raised us. Because it's true. And like I said, it's not as tedious touring for 2-3 years, 1 to 2 years really, as it used to be. Shows tend to go for about 3 months, take a break for a couple months, another couple months, take a break for a few months. Back then, it was like wives at home got to see their husbands, boyfriends, whatever, maybe 2 weeks every few months, every 2 months. So really, when it came to the road, the rockers belonged to us, to the road family. And, kind of letting go of that, like I said, for the groupie, it is melancholy, but it's easily kind of picked up. You can take the afterglow from one band and use it because you're all shiny, happy. Woo! Just got really good, no tap, tap, tap. So, and you've been on the high of being on the road and being part of the rock and roll fantasy, the rock and roll tornado, as I like to call it, so it's just a really, really hard thing to do. And I don't think that enough groupies kind of give them the space to really emotionally deal with that. Because I always say, I keep a lot of emotion out of it, but I'm a man eater. I was just born that way. Like, I'm so bad, but I'm so good at it. Because like I said, the road for the groupie, it's a little bit easier because you can always be on the road. Like if you've ever seen the season 6 and 7, I believe it is, of Californication, one of the very, very last episodes, you have what's her name? Grace, Faith, that's her name. And we'll do an episode on this because there's a lot of similarities in there that ring true to home. So, even an actor. But yeah, I mean, there's a scene where she's looking at the main character and he's like, please come